He had been on 199 blind dates, but never felt a spark, until one day he saw her, a girl in a flowy floral dress, elegant, fresh, with porcelain skin, and a subtle sadness in her eyes. His buddy warned him, "Don't get your hopes up. She's turned down every guy who's tried." But he didn't listen. He hit a baseball toward her table on purpose. The sudden sound caught her attention. Sorry, no one had ever dared approach her like that, but this unusual move, it intrigued her. That's how their first date began, and so did a love story neither of them expected. They fell for each other quickly. Her name was Diana. When her brothers found out she was dating a broke guy, they told her to think twice. But she simply said, "The thing is, I just know. This is it." They couldn't argue with that and chose to give them their blessing. Jack didn't let anyone down. He took Diana flying over the Grand Canyon, racing across African plains, watching sunsets side by side, dreaming about their future. They got married soon after, and soon they were expecting a baby. Everything was perfect, until one day, Jack collapsed while spinning a hula hoop. They thought it was just fatigue, but by nightfall, he was in unbearable pain, unable to move. His friend rushed him to the hospital. Doctors tried ice to stimulate a response, but he couldn't feel anything. "He's crashing. We need to get him on a respirator." The next day, Diana arrived, pregnant and anxious. She tried to stay calm, but her eyes couldn't hide the fear. Just last night, her husband was full of life. Now he couldn't even say, "I love you." Doctors diagnosed him with a 1 in 10 million paralysis. Only his head could move, the rest of his body completely numb. Even breathing required a machine. Diana, holding back tears, asked, "How long until he recovers?" The doctor shook his head. "The paralysis is irreversible. A good respirator will keep him alive. For a few months, maybe." She turned away and silently wiped her tears. Everyone urged her to walk away. "Let him go," they said. "He's already lost everything." She nodded, but in her heart she had made up her mind. She would never leave him. She raised the money to move Jack to the best hospital. Soon after, their baby was born, but Jack didn't smile. He believed he was nothing but a burden. He couldn't even end his own life. Every day he stared at white walls, listening to the beep of the machine. One day, watching Diana collapse with exhaustion, but Diana looked at him and said softly, "I love you." That was all it took. Those 3 words became his strength. Diana became a warrior. She raised their child, learned how to be a nurse, and bought a huge farm just so she could care for him at home. Even the hospital staff were moved by her devotion. Eventually, Jack was strong enough to go home. That day, he looked at the blue sky and thought he'd never seen anything so beautiful. Beside him stood the woman who never left, and the son he'd never truly held. The house was no longer quiet. Friends came by to help, filling the air with warmth and laughter. Seeing all the caring faces around him, Jack smiled for the first time in a long while. Yes, I'm in camp. He had made it through, and this time he looked at his son, so small, so bright-eyed, and realized he almost missed it all. Now he had every reason to live. That night, Diana curled up on his shoulder. The breathing machine still hissed in the background, but it no longer sounded cold. It was just another quiet note in the melody of love that saved his life.